Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you already know that we are in the middle of a Decan walk, and I call it a different kind of Decan walk because the associations that I'm making from esoteric wisdom to the tarot are different from those associations you will see in other places and in other spaces and in books and on YouTube. So, if you want to know what the grounding, the basis for the associations I'm making are, I have a playlist. And I'll put a card up here for you to be able to click on and hop on over and check that out if you want to find out what the heck I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Yes? But in case you've already watched those, you know what's going on. Let's just continue right along with this. The second decan of Cancer. Yes, we're here. We're here in the second decan. We're entering summer, or we have entered summer, and we've got a lot to look at. Yes? Now, just in case you are new here, let me tell you what the framework of this video is, and that there is a tool. Yes? And I'm not talking about me. There is a tool. In the description box below, there will be timestamps. So, you can hop around to different parts of the video and watch those parts that seem particularly interesting to you, and you can ignore the rest if you want. Yes? So, it's a smorgasbord. And the smorgasbord is organized in the following fashion. First, I will talk about the previous decan, which in this case will be the first decan of Cancer associated with the Ace of Cups. And then we will hop right into this decan. And we will begin this decan by looking at an oracle deck. Two oracle decks, actually. One is an oracle deck called the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. Wonderful deck, especially for exploring astrology in a classical mode. Yes, that oracle deck associates all of the 7 classical planets into each of the 12 zodiacal signs and gives a very nice, concise write-up for each one of them. So it's very helpful for this decan walk, but it's also helpful as an oracle and a study tool, I think. So, in the description box, there will be links to all of the decks and the books that I'm using for this decan walk, especially for this Cancer sign, because all of these decks are mass market and available. Yep, so we start off with that first oracle, giving us an outline of this decan. And then we look at an Egyptian-based oracle, because the decans are actually an Egyptian system that was integrated into Hellenistic astrology. Yes? And so, the way I'm integrating those two is the same way that we think of sidereal as opposed to tropical astrology. Tropical astrology, we look at the planets in the spaces of the astrological tropics, which are very closely attached to the Earth. So we don't have to worry about the stars moving around the precession of the equinox. And if you don't know what that is, ask me in the description box below. Because every new term I throw out here, while important, leads to another term, leads to another term, leads to another term, and there's a whole rabbit hole. Yes? So, anyways, we're going to look at the Egyptian decan for this decan. Yes? And then we will look at the tarot card for this decan. And then we're going to look at the 2 major arcana cards that inform the minor arcana card, which is the card for this decan. And then, finally, I pull 3 questions out of those 3 tarot cards. Yes? The 2 majors and the 1 minor. I pull out 3 questions, and then I lay a new spread, and we read that spread, and we're done for the day. Okay, so that is the organization of this video. And we're about to start, but before we begin, let me say thank you. Yes, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And thank you for doing those things that you do. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. You help other people find us, and our community grows because of you. And also thank you for all of those of you who comment. You are a blessing and you lighten my life, as the song says, yes? Do you know that song? You light up my life. You light up my life. Yeah? Okay, anyways. So thank you. And here we go. The previous decan was the first decan of Cancer associated with the Ace of Cups, and the first decan of Cancer gives us cardinal water's vital attributes entering our world. Yes? And it's ruled by the moon, and we had ideas. Oh, I will have the card up, the 3 cards up here, which were for that decan. It gave us ideas of new emotional beginnings, but remembering that the symbolic image of Cancer is the crab. So when we do feel emotionally triggered, emotionally disquieted, yeah, we can shell ourselves up, right? We put up barriers protecting us from even those we love. Now we can put up walls for protection. But when we're in a good space, we're exploring psychic abilities and emotional connections and all of those wonderful things. So, what have I noticed for this decan? And I'd love to know what you've noticed for this decan. Let us know in the comments below, or on the community tab, there's space there for you to let us know about your experience of the first decan of Cancer. What things that I noticed were, remember this is the Ace of Cups, right? And the thing that is all over here in Korea is the World Cup. Yeah? So, no, the World Cup is not a particularly Ace of Cups reference, right? Because when we think of sports, I think mostly of wands and that competition, the fire, the passion. However, the trophy is a cup. It's called the World Cup, and it is singular, so why not? There is that resonance between World Cup and the Ace of Cups in that way. And there's a hand that gives this singular cup to somebody else. Yeah? So anyways, the World Cup will not be ending during that decan, or this decan, I don't think, but it will be ending during Cancer. So this whole Cancer season is World Cup season, I think. Just something to keep in mind. Moving right into my own personal space, I have been more sensitive so far. I've noticed myself feeling very sensitive to what I felt like emotional slights, things that have poked me emotionally. Yeah? I am coming off of the end of the previous semester, and I've moved into what is called I've gone through the grading process, and I've finalized grades, and we are moving into the period when students can contest their grades, right? And for me, this is a little bit of a stressful time. And so I can very easily be emotionally, for want of a better word right now, triggered. Yeah? And I can put up barriers and walls and duck into my shell, and I feel a little bit touchy. And I noticed that for myself. And when I felt unreasonably criticized, that Cancerian shell closes in around me. and I won't let anybody in. Yeah? Do you notice that for you ever? Some people will come out swinging. I don't have very much in Cancer in my chart. I do have Jupiter in Cancer. I also have my midheaven in Cancer. Anyways, so I do have a little bit of Cancer in my chart, so maybe that's why. I don't know. But those are things that I've noticed for me. And I would love to hear what this decan has been feeling like for you. So let us know. Okay, friends? So, we're ready to dive right in. Let me first show you the first oracle card for this decan, and let's talk about it. Okay? Here is that oracle card now. You see the card right here, yes? It is titled Quarrel. Gives me a little bit of concern seeing that card come up for this decan. You can also see the astrological associations, right? You can see Mars and you can see Cancer there. This is the decan of Mars in Cancer because the second decan of Cancer is keyed to Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by Mars, so we have Mars in Cancer. Yes? And what do we see in this card? We see two face-offs, right? Below, there are two men on horseback that look like they're fighting over a ring. And according to the author of this deck, the creator of this deck, that ring symbolizes marriage. So they're fighting over a marriage band of some kind. And this indicates families united or divided because of relationships or inheritance. Which is interesting because I've started do you know the Petit-a? It's the precursor to the Grand Etea. It's a 33 card deck. And this is the second day I've been pulling cards to begin my practice, and both sets of cards have, so we haven't gotten into this decan yet. At the time of this filming, we have not gotten into this decan yet, and yet inheritance and home seem to be popping up in those small 3-card spreads that I've been pulling. Just a little tangent there. So, again, families united or divided because of relationships or inheritance. Now above there are two, what the author considers to be classical busts, which remind us that this conflict has happened before. This is not our first dance at this party, yes? So, people have been facing off. Families have been facing off. People within families have been facing off for millennia. And here we have the potential for another face-off, another conflict. Or it could be a unity. There's possibility for what do you call that? What is unity? United? A union. There's a possibility for a union here as well. So it doesn't have to go into fighting, right? But it is called Quarrel. And what does that mean for the creator of this deck? It means enjoying being active around the home or in other family settings. Yeah, we want to put our energy into our living spaces and those people who we are closely related to. It indicates families united or divided because of relation. Oh, I'm sorry. I already said that. Yes? Remembering that Mars is here in Cancer, we remember that Mars is a little bit bossy. Now, Mars has a bossy nature and wants to take over and run things. Especially when Mars is in the moon's environment, in the moon's home. Yeah? So there is potential for energized emotional disputes or arguments here, because Mars wants to be in charge. So domestic upheaval is possible. Family matters can become stormy. But Mars also wants to be loved. Yes? So Mars's desire to be loved, if Mars does not get too bossy, can be a beneficial attribute here. Yeah, wanting to be loved. In all our active wanting to take control, take in charge, get things done qualities. So the thing we want to be careful of here is bottling our emotions up. That's not going to be good for us. Bottling up is not going to be good. Trying to go and control people is not going to be good either. We want the middle road, right? Property is important for us right now, and putting energy on business interests of our own could be good for us. It could be a good outlet for our energy rather than trying to take charge of the family, whatever family means to you. It could be biological family, it could be chosen family. And we want to be cautious with family matters and members. We want to be cautious with family matters and family members. We don't want to cause unnecessary friction, cause unnecessary quarrels. We don't want to cause fights. And we don't want to be super reactive when other people are touchy around us either. Because you might notice, we might notice, that the other people in our families also want to take charge. Yes, they've got Mars swimming around in their environments as well. So just keep all of that in mind. Now, I think we've got a pretty clear message, right? Possibility of union, possibility of putting energy into business interests, possibility of putting energy into managing the home and spending time with family. Be careful not to get into fights, right? So we've got the Egyptian Decan to look at. Are you ready for that? So let me show you the card and let's talk about that card. Here it is. Remember, friends, we have entered into the new cycle of the year for Egyptians back at the time when this wheel of the decans was established. Yes? So, this is the second decan of Cancer, but we're at what this Oracle deck creator considers to be card number 1. And it is Tepy-a Kenmet. Yeah? Tepy-a Kenmet, which is the predecessor of the cow. That's what the translation means. Yeah, predecessor of the cow. And you see this guy leading a cow, right? And remember, cows are, especially in older societies, are symbols, indications, and manifestations of wealth and property and inheritance and status, right? So we have this predecessor of the cow, a cow herd leading a cow. So this is the time of what? It's a time of new beginnings and jubilation. Yes? Promises are kept. There is a fresh start and there are new opportunities for us. Remember, we wanted our being given the suggestion that we can put energy into new business opportunities. Well, this card would enhance that suggestion, I think. Now, there is the possibility of something unknown also springing up for this decan. But that which will emerge in the coming months is probably going to be beneficial, whether we can anticipate it or not. It's a time of leadership or mentorship. So if you find yourself in the leadership role in your family, in your group, with People at work inhabit that role more fully during this decan as the stable, not easily triggered, not easily annoyed, not easily angered mentor. Or if you find yourself in the mentee role, that is wonderful as well. Take the mentorship available to you. Because this is a time when someone can direct us for our benefit. Or we could be the one directing others. Yes, and when I say direct, I'm not saying like a movie director, do this, do this, do this, but direct, steer people on their course. Be the good mentor. Yes, the good shepherd, the good cowherd. And now, friends, these are this Egyptian unpacking of this decan, I think, adds a lot more of a positive spin to what we just saw from the more Western tradition oracle, yes? We're about to look at a little bit of text from this book. There are two books that I like to reference before we actually dive into the card for this decan. There's this one, which is called Decanics and Duads by Goyen and Aker. There's a link in the description box. This book is very helpful for looking at decans with triplicities. Not the Chaldean system, which is Golden Dawn, but rather the decans with triplicities. Very helpful. And there's another book which I pull a quote out of, a need out of, and that book is also shown in, and a link is given for that book in the description box below. Okay, so first, let's look at a quick synopsis of this decan from this beautiful book. So it says here that so where am I? Okay, because we've got Mars in Cancer, yes? Mars is the ruler of Scorpio. So because Scorpio is a fixed sign, there is the potential for the need or the use of willpower determination that can than other Cancerian decans, right? Although Cancer and Scorpio are feminine signs and wait for things to come to them, the Mars rulership of the decanate gives the ability to fight a defensive battle that is relentless and unyielding. Those Scorpio attributes, right? Once they have set out to accomplish a task, they do so with power and thoroughness. If Mars is found in this decan, it is not as weak and debilitated as it would be in another decanate of Cancer. Yes, so Mars is strong now. The ability to go out and do things is strong now. The ability to fight a defensive fight is strong now. So that could be good, but it could also be unwarranted and dangerous. Yes? Remember what we were talking about when we looked at the quarrel card, right? So, things to keep in mind. Now, the need for this decan, according to another book, is the need to learn to control the mind and to direct its power into healing others. Yes? Because if our mind is not well focused, well controlled, and we are emotionally triggered, that is going to set us off in a negative, destructive course of action. However, if our minds are in good control, and it's the control of the meditator, not the control of the wagon driver or the chariot driver, right? Well, okay. You might say, okay, you might have a different opinion of chariot drivers. So, anyways, it's not the control of somebody who is controlling, but the control of the meditator who is who has equanimity. Yes? So if we have that equanimity of mind, we can direct the mind's power to healing others who could be also very triggered during this time of the year. Does that make sense? Because again, we've all got Mars floating around us right now. Not literally, but as a marker for this decan, having the fixed aspect of cardinal waters, vital attributes entering the world right now. Okay, so friends, ready for the tarot card, yes? Let me show you the card and we'll talk about this decan. Here it is. So friends, you see here the Two of Cups, right? And what do you think of when you see the Two of Cups? Most of us think of love, think of relationships, yes? But we also see the winged lion above the two people and what looks like the Caduceus, right? Now, the Caduceus is not exactly the healing wand of Aeschylus, but there is an aspect of healing to the second decan of Cancer that is potential, I think. Yes? So, we have here the Two of Cups, which is the standing in for the second decan of Cancer, which is keyed to Scorpio, Scorpio is ruled by Mars, so we have Mars in Cancer, and we have the fixed aspect of cardinal waters, vital attributes, entering our world now. And the Two of Cups, yeah? Because it's a two, on the tree of life, it would light up Chokmah, yes? Which is the Sephirah of wisdom. So there's a wisdom element to the Two of Cups. It's very diffuse. It hasn't been categorized and analyzed and categorized and placed into boxes and it hasn't begun to be understood, but there is an ephemeral wisdom here. And when this card is upright, I think of things like conscious emotional exchange. Because remember, the cups are signs and symbols of our emotions. And these two people are perhaps, they could be toasting, but they could also be exchanging these cups, right? There's an emotional exchange possible here. Because of Mars, we do have willpower and determination in this relationship. We can fight a defensive battle. Yes, our intense emotions can be in the realms of sexual and romantic relationships as well. Remembering that the scorpion, is also a very sexual sign, right? So our sexuality is lit up here as well with Mars in the water. A keyword I might want to think of is revelation for this card in this spot. We can be healers. Think of that wand with the Caduceus, which again isn't the healing wand of Aeschylus, but still, we've got that symbol used in medical realms. In the area of medicine, this symbol is often used, right? So we can be healers. We could be sensitive to public needs as well. Our sensitivity can be broader and more focused, perhaps. We have interest in the mythical, and occult pursuits. We have the potential of energized psychic abilities here. And upright, I might be interested in asking, how do I emotionally position myself in relationship to this, whatever this is, whatever this other is? How do I emotionally position myself in relation to another person, another situation, another group? Because there is a duality to the two-ness of the Two of Cups, right? So how do I position myself in this duality, in this subject-object relationship? Now, because it's upright, and it is the second decan, we have the moon in its complement, which is Aquarius, interestingly. And remembering, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. And that gives us a little bit of the Saturnian aspect of wafting through this decan. A little bit, yeah? So, still, the moon being here in Aquarius, we have emotional connection. Aquarians can be friendly, but they don't really have that emotional connection. Their friendships are not deep, right? When we think of the typical Aquarian attributes. But here we have a more emotional connection to the other in a more progressive, socially just way, let's say. And it's through mutual understanding. I understand you, you understand me. Look at this card, you can see that there, right? Bonds are formed by shared ideals. Yeah, you can also think of those cups being a symbol of shared ideals. My ideal, your ideal, we share them, that gives us connection. Oh, sorry, I just had a little disaster right here in front of me. Don't worry. We're feeling balanced with perspective as well. Remember the duality of twos, right? But we can feel balanced and have the perspective of Aquarius. And our relationships are recognized consciously. They're not just assumed. Have you noticed that a lot of, or some, I'm not going to brand all of your relationships, but that some of your relationships are very unconscious, right? We just assume other people are always going to be our friends, always going to be our mothers, always going to be our lovers, always going to be our, our ride or die. And we don't put a lot of conscious attention on the relationship because it's an unconscious assumption that we will always be in relationship, right? In this decan, our relationships want to be recognized and conscious attention placed on those relationships. Remember, when we talked about this decan from that first oracle deck, right? Energy put into family, put into those close relationships. That's indicated here as well. Do you see that? Okay, friends. That is the Two of Cups. Those are some of the qualities of this decan, which are highlighted by this card. Now, we're about to look at the wider view, yes, including the two major arcana cards. So, I will show you the cards, and while I'm showing you those cards, I will clean up the little disaster that happened right here in front of me, and we'll be ready to keep going. Okay, friends? Let's take a look at the cards. Okay, friends, not to worry. All is well. Here you see the three cards, right? From left to right, you can see Justice standing in for Cancer. And yes, Justice is associated with Cancer in our system in this kind of decan walk. And then we got the Two of Cups, which you expected. And then we've got the Emperor here for Mars, because for us, here on this decan walk, Mars is associated with the Emperor. We'll get to why. And let's start off with Justice. Yes? Because that is going to be the main card for this zodiacal season of Cancer. We saw it last video for the first decan, and here it is again. So what is justice? Just a reminder. Yeah, justice is related to Cancer. Why? Because justice is, we're keeping the number 8 for justice, even though it says 11 here on this card, because when the idea of associating esoterica to tarot was first explored, it was before the Golden Dawn. Before the Golden Dawn decided to switch justice and strength for their own purposes. So, even though the card does say 11, we're keeping the older ordering of those two major arcana cards. Okay? So, this is the 8th card in the series, starting with the Magician. Okay? So that gives us the 8th letter, which is Chet. And Chet, you can see here on the Tree of Life, yeah, is Cancer. I'm sorry, is justice. A little bit of a brain trauma there, yes. You can see that Cancer is justice, and you can see Chet connecting the Sephira of Chesed and Tiperet. Chesed and Tiperet, yes? So it connects a loving kindness with Tiperet, which is beauty, and also, for my understanding, is placed here on the heart. So justice, very Cancerian, is connecting loving kindness with the beauty which lies here in the heart chakra. Okay? So, sounds wonderful to me. And Chet is the Hebrew letter which is for a fence or a gate, protecting life from the outside. Very Cancerian. It's for new beginnings. Very cardinal. Cancers are cardinal signs, right? Life, protection, sacred boundaries, also marriage. The marriage canopy is part of Chet as well. And the number 8 is transcendence after the completion of sevens. Now, 7 days of the week, sevens are the number of completion in older traditions, and 8s are the transcendent function, which transcends the 7 and links back to the 1. And that's where we get that infinity of the Ouroboros, all of that wonderful, not the infinity sign of the lemniscate, not the Ouroboros, right? All of that wonderful stuff. Now, if we were to associate the rune, the 8th rune is Wunjo, yes? And that Wunjo rune is the rune for joy. It's the rune for balance. Very nice for the Two of Cups, balance. It's groups, family groups, for example. It's attraction and security, very Cancerian. It's bonds, very good for the Two of Cups. And also luck. All wonderful things. So the Cancerian aspect of justice gives us duality. Think of the duality of the scales and introspection. It's the duality of holding and binding. It's the crab that grips tightly, clings to God. Yes? Or to hold fast to spiritual principles, especially at times of chaos. It's also the enclosure, right? We talked about that as Chet being the enclosure, the safe space. The crab has an inner chamber, yes? The inner chamber of the soul. A place of spiritual retreat and protection for justice. There's also the idea of a sheepfold or a secure resting place where the flock representing us, God's people, is protected. And it's an opportunity to remove inner resentment and negativity, to become the safe space of social justice. Now, when I think of justice now in this card, I'm not thinking of just punitive justice. I'm not thinking of the legal system of the courts anymore. I'm thinking of a more ancient idea of justice, of tribal justice, where it's not for punishing the bad, but it's for finding correction to mistakes and errors and poor behavior. And for finding ways to balance things in proper, loving environments and spaces. Yes? So that's informing the Two of Cups here, right? It's safe spaces. It's also our relationship with the divine. Can you see that here as well? It's our place of our soul for Cancer. But we've also got Mars entering in. Yes, you can see Mars lit up here as well. Right, you see the Two of Cups there in Chokmah. You see the path from Chesed to Tipreth for justice. We also see two areas lit up for the Emperor, which is Mars. Yes, because Gevra, the Sephira of severity, is associated with Mars. But also the Emperor card is associated with the Hebrew letter Daleth, because Daleth is the fourth letter, and the Emperor is the fourth card. Yes, and Daleth, you can see on the Tree of Life, connects Kether and Tipreth. So we have the divine monad connecting to the beauty of the heart chakra center here with the Emperor as well. Yes, the Emperor connects the monad of the divine to beauty and the heart chakra, which is beautiful, right? It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Mars gets a very different perspective. The Emperor gets a very different perspective when we see it sitting here on the Tree of Life in this way. And Daleth is what? Daleth is a door. It's a helper of the burdened. So, remember we had the fence and the gate of Chet, right, with justice. Now that Chet, that gate, has a door with Daleth. Does that make sense? So, it's a receptacle of the divine as well. The divine can enter in through our wall, a barrier of the crab. There's an openness. But there's also a poverty of spirit, right? Remember, if you are at all familiar with Christian music or Christian prayer, blessed is he who is poor of spirit, right? Poverty of spirit. It's a humility. It's an openness to acceptance of divine grace. It's possible here, even in the Emperor. A very different take on the Emperor, right? And we have the rune Ansus, which kind of looks like an F with downward pointing horizontal bars. So when you think of the F, it looks like this for you, right? So instead of like this, it's like this for Ansus. And Ansus is the rune of messages, of inspiration, of enthusiasm, of visions and health, and also harmony, truth and wisdom. Very good for the Two of Cups, I believe. But because this is associated with Mars, we do have the potential for blood, for wars, for strength, both positive and negative. Yes, we have power with Mars and judgment. The judgment which can be necessary for the justice card, right? But again, not punitive judgment, but active judgment. It's an active principle. It's an active planet. And it's called the minor malefic. But remember, those benefics and malefics, they're not really, this is the good guy, this is the bad guy. But this is the warm, soft, fuzzy one, and this is the clear, the direct, the active, the putting things in order, the fighting when it's necessary. Right? Okay, so there's that war possibility, but there's also power and judgment, which can be beneficial. And it connects, again, Gevra to, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Moving on. So we have divine might. Oh yes, I'm sorry, Gevra. It's not connecting, but Gevra is lit up here. So we have the possibility of strength and judgment and severity, boxes, organization, order. Yes, just below Saturn on the tree of life. So it's on the mother pillar. It's on the pillar of severity. So there's a need for organization and putting things in their proper places, and do this, don't do that, be a good person, don't be a bad person. Yeah? Okay. So divine might is here. Sensitivity and the power to set boundaries with the emperor, which is something we often think of with the emperor, right? Putting boundaries, organizing, constructing cities, city planning, right? It's organization for the emperor. That is all here. And that can inform the Two of Cups as well. The Two of Cups is not the romance of soft, squishy, Pisces kind of romance. Here, the Two of Cups is the romance of Martian Scorpio here in Cancer. Does that make sense? So there is a little bit of active, masculine, not male, but masculine energy here in the Two of Cups. In a very feminine, lunar, zodiacal sign. So there's that, and they're not, the moon and Mars are not natural partners. Yeah, the moon and the sun are natural partners, but still, there's that more large feminine and large-ish masculine energy that is here in the Two of Cups, which is here in the second decan of Cancer, which points to the Two of Cups. And that has nothing to do with physical gender of the human, because we all have those qualities in each of us, right? We have the masculine, the feminine, and we are naturally, to some extent or another, non-binary within the bodies which present sometimes otherwise, most of the time otherwise. Does that make sense? Okay, friends. So that is what this decan seems to be about. Right? There is the union of the Two of Cups, healing, psychic energy, willpower with determination is here. There's a bond of understanding, a bond of mutual feeling with justice, also clinging to the divine, holding our own sacred space, and being able to go out and do the work. And hopefully do the work of love with a powerful heart of the emperor. And when necessary, doing the work of organization. Yes? Okay, friends. So, I pulled 3 questions from these 3 cards. And if you have other questions that would have been more interesting for you, let us know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what your questions might have been. Yes? The questions that I pulled out were, for the Justice card, what triggers could I experience? Right? There's the possibility of being triggered here, which could cause family or interpersonal disputes. For the Two of Cups, the question I pulled is, what is the healthiest emotional response? So there could be triggers as the Cancerian in Justice, but the two, what is the healthiest emotional response? And then with Mars in the Emperor, where does my power lie? Yes? Does that make sense? So again, those three questions are, what triggers could I experience during this Decan? What is the healthiest emotional response to those triggers? And where does my power lie? Yes? So I have the same deck I used in the first Decan all ready for us, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, children of all ages. Are you ready to take a look at this beautiful deck? Here is the response to those questions from a beautiful deck. Take a look. Friends, what do you think of these three cards as a response? Now, just in case you don't know, this is a very well-established tarot deck that has been around for decades. Yes, and it's still available. It's called the Mother Peace Tarot. I think it's wonderful. It's one of my favorite round decks, and I do like round decks. Love the images on the card. Love using the deck. If you want a shuffling tutorial, let me know in the comments below. I have to say that I was a little bit disappointed when these three cards came out the way that they did, because one of the reasons that I really wanted to use this round deck was so that there would be more positions showing in the spreads, right? I wanted some pointing left, I wanted some pointing right, I wanted some being pointing down. I wanted those different presentations, but they all came up upright, really, they did. And so I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't get to play with direction in this spread. But I was intrigued to see that what we had in this set of cards was very fascinating, right? We had from left to right the Nine of Wands, the Empress, and the Nine of Cups, all upright. Elementally, on one side we have fire, on one side we have fire, on the other side we have, let's see, for you, it would be, let's see, one side is fire, one side is water, right? They are elementally ill-dignified. Which kind of makes sense, right? Because the question for the Nine of Wands is, what triggers could I experience? Yes? And the Nine of Cups is my power, right? My power, which will help to ameliorate the trigger that I experience in the Nine. So the water is here to soothe or quench the fire of the Nine, perhaps. Does that make sense? And in the center, where we have the healthiest response, we have a very healthy card in the Empress. All very wonderful, yeah? And before we get into the esoteric associations to these cards, let's just look at how these cards present, right? So, in response to what triggers could I experience, we have the Nine of Wands, right? And you see this beautiful woman sitting with the 9 wands behind her, all on fire. And there are these 2 snakes, yes? And I don't know if you can see, there are snakes in the Empress card as well, but we'll get to that in just a moment. So we see here a woman sitting, regenerating her energy, according to the creator of the Mother Peace Tarot, for future action. So we have that possibility of regeneration here, which reminds me actually a little bit of the Nine of Wands in the Crowley deck, where I've seen that card described as a Aikido master who doesn't have to be too active, waits for the best and the most proper time to use a minimum of effort to create the response that he or she or they want. Yes? So I get that feeling here from this card a little bit. It's the wisdom to regenerate our own energy, to take care of others. Yes? It's having sensitivity and knowledge. And that knowledge is there represented by the snakes, I believe. Yeah? So she's there, she's sitting in her power, recharging her batteries. She's got wisdom and knowledge around her. And the trigger, I suppose, we could first think of as being the need to regenerate. So we could be drained right now, yes? We need to regenerate. And we need to regain our energy in order to be able to take care of others and to make use of our knowledge, but and sensitivity in a good way. But because we aren't there yet, our sensitivity is generally triggering, I think. Does that make sense? So what triggers could I experience? It could be multitude, right? Because right now we are lacking the energy to have resilience, and so we are easily triggered by a variety of things. I think that's the first answer, the first response that I see from that card. And then looking at the Empress, what is the healthiest emotional response? What do we see in this card? We see a woman relaxing, covered by maybe a leopard skin. And she's there. Can you see she's smelling a rose? She's sniffing a rose, which is probably a nod to Venus. But for us, this card is not Venus anymore. Yeah, she's not in Kansas anymore. She's not Venus anymore. But she is smelling a rose, and she's enjoying a peaceful moment. And the bull in the back is there, alert, ready to bring in the harvest, according to the creators of this deck. Below, you can see an image of Demeter, and Demeter is holding grain, and around, which is the harvest, and around the grain is the snake of perhaps wisdom, and transformation, and growth. So we have those ideas with the Empress as well. And Demeter is also showing up behind the Empress in the statue to the left. Yes? You can see the large statue on the left of the card. There is a very ancient looking statue of a figure which is supposed to be Demeter between two leopards. Yeah? And you see the leopard skin covering the Empress lying on the ground, but we also see Demeter in the back with her two large cats. Also, remembering that she is still the goddess of fertility, the goddess of grain and harvest, and all of that, and the seasons and cycles, right? So, the Empress for the creators of this deck is the Earth Mother in abundance and diversity of nature. The Empress is both active and receptive. So we can see her in the receptive pose, but the bull there is to remind us that she's also ready to go out and bring in the harvest. But she's got grace, She's got finesse in any action she takes. Any action she takes, including bringing in the harvest, will be very graceful and have finesse, right? It's not going to be the sweat of heavy labor. And she's charismatic, yeah? She can handle a lot of different things. So what is the healthiest response is to relax when we need to. Get ready to bring in the harvest, right? Feel secure in our wisdom, as the goddess Demeter would be secure, in also the cycles of nature. And inhabiting our grace and allowing ourselves to behave with finesse, instead of being reactive or triggered, yes? We want to inhabit our inner empress. That is the healthiest response. And so, where does my power lie? My power lies in the Nine of Cups. My power lies with these women dancing. Do you see them? Dancing and frolicking around a sacred well. That is the sacred well or the sacred spring of the poppy goddess. Yes, and they're dancing and they're relaxing, kind of an echo of the Empress as well, I think. And this card indicates that we can get what we want and what we wish for. My power lies in clarifying, I think, my desires, what I want, what I wish. Clarifying my faith, my trust, my belief that I will get those things. That those desires will come into fruition, into manifestation. Have trust and faith and enjoy and revel and relax. Again, both of these cards, the Empress and the Nine of Cups, are indicating relaxation in both active and passive ways. Yeah, relaxing, lying on the ground and enjoying a cool spring, but also dancing and frolicking, right? Smelling the flowers, smelling the roses along the way, like the Empress. Now, let's look at the more esoteric way of reading these cards. You can see here, I've got the extra Sephira lit up, right? You see the Empress is lit up with the connection of, well, let's start off with the Nine of Wands, right? That's the first question. So you can see both nines are lit up there in Yesod, right? Interestingly, the Sephira, which is associated with the moon, which is associated with Cancer, which is the ruler of Cancer, right? So you hear Yesod is all lit up. It was also all lit up last Decan as well. So, okay, my setup this week is very unstable and I don't get it, but we're okay. We're okay. So here we have, yes, I'm sorry. We have Yesod lit up for the Nine of Wands. And the Nine of Wands is representative of Sagittarius keyed to Leo. Yes, it is the third decan of Sagittarius, keyed to Leo, which is ruled by the sun. So we have the sun in Sagittarius, and we have the fixed aspect of mutable fire's vital attributes entering our spread, which is very interesting because we're going to have the fixed aspect of mutable waters entering our spread on the third card. In the third card. Yes? So here we have the fixed aspect of mutable fire's vital attributes entering our spread. The sun in Sagittarius, keyed to Leo. And upright, I would suggest the idea of guarded perseverance with the Nine of Wands. We're determined and we're optimistic. Yes? There's the possibility of enlightenment here. And we are romantic and idealistic. Sagittarians, this decan of Sagittarians, they're performers and they love applause. And they never seem to grow old. All wonderful, wonderful attributes, right? They don't turn from problems, but they don't seek help either. Yeah, they want to go out and solve their own problems. And upright, the question I might ask is, what effort has reached its limit? So, again, the question is, what triggers could I experience? Again, the triggers I think could be multitude, because the effort I've been putting in has reached its limit. And remember, I need to recharge. We already talked about that. I have so much potential we have so much potential for romance, for being idealistic, for enjoyment, for putting on a show, yes, for youthful exuberance, for tackling problems. But we are right now not fully charged, right? Now, Jupiter here in its exaltation is, guess where? Jupiter is in Cancer. Yes? Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. The Jupiter ruler of Sagittarius is swimming in the waters of Cancer. Yeah? And so here, faith is sustained through care. Emotional resilience is possible. Our endurance is rooted in belonging. But our triggers are feeling separated from that, right? Our need, our desire, and our strength lies in our connection and our being rooted in caring for other people, but those other people we care for could trigger us, right? In a diversity of ways. And those things are where our Achilles heel lie. What triggers could we experience? Those multitude of diverse triggers from those people that we care about. And so what is the healthiest response? You see the Empress, right? The Empress is the card for Jupiter. And you can see Jupiter lit up here in Chesed. Yes? Which is what? Do you remember? Chesed is our loving kindness. So it's lit up here with the Empress, who is, by the way, the partner of the Emperor, which is the card for Mars in this Decan anywho, right? So we've got Jupiter all lit up. Loving kindness. And she's associated with the Hebrew letter Gimel, which is a camel or a rope. Gimel is the Hebrew letter of the benefactor, who walks to Dalet, the emperor, to succor the weak. Yeah, she is the one who goes to take care of the humble emperor. Something to think about, yes. She's the card of generosity, of kindness. The Hebrew letter Gimel is also the Hebrew letter of generosity and kindness. Again, she connects Binah and Gevra. So she connects on the mother pillar, the pillar of severity, with understanding and severity. Yeah, the understanding that flows from wisdom is now connected to Gevra, severity, to justice, to strength in the Empress. The rune would be Thurisaz, which kind of looks like a thorn, and that is the rune of the thorn. Remember the rose that she is holding has a thorn. Yeah, so Thurisaz. Thurisaz is also power. She has her own power. Yes? Protection, defense, the power of doing those things. Benevolence, the power of benevolence and of expansion. She has the power to overcome obstacles. So, the Empress for us, with these placements on the tree of life is justice and righteousness. She is benevolence and expansion. So where the healthiest response is the Empress's open, powerful justice, righteousness, benevolence, and expansion, not the severity or the punitive nature that can sometimes be applied to justice, but the open, benevolent justice of righteousness. Thinking of Solomon the Wise in the Hebrew Bible, yes, the Torah. She has boundlessness. She has expansion. She has an outpouring of divine love and grace as well. That is the healthy response. Not an easy task, right? So where does my power lie to do those things? Well, my power lies in the Nine of Cups, right? Which is, again, lit up by Yesod, which is foundation. The foundation before manifestation. And it is the water side of the Nine of Wands. So here, in the Nine of Cups, we have the sign of mutable water, which is Pisces. It's the third decan of Pisces, which is keyed to Scorpio, right? So we have the fixed aspect of mutable waters, vital attributes here. Because it's Scorpio in Pisces, not Cancer, but Pisces, we do have Mars showing up in the Nine of Cups. So we've got Mars again here. From the Two of Cups, Mars from the Emperor is here in the Nine of Cups. But it's a watery Mars, right? And the Nine of Cups upright makes me think of heartfelt contentment. It's happy Mars. Yeah, it's Mars with heartfelt contentment, feeling the love that Mars desires, feeling the emotions that Mars desires, because this card is upright. So there's great willpower and strength here, and determination. The determination to get to be prepared and to have the faith and the belief that we will get what we desire, that what we desire will manifest. Yes? It's intimately related to the process of death and rebirth as well. So for the new to arrive, something old might need to die away, and we have the strength for that. That is where our power lies, in that ability to see and appreciate and vitalize the transition from death into new life. We're engaged in making the unconscious become conscious. Our unconscious desires become visible, yes? While at the same time, the unconscious debris can be consumed and transformed into energy for doing the work we want to do in the world, for manifesting our desires. And upright, the question I might ask of the Nine of Cups is, what feeling has reached its fulfillment or saturation? What feeling has reached fulfillment or saturation? Right? In the Nine of Wands, I asked, what effort has reached its limit? Here, what feeling has reached its saturation and its fulfillment with the Nine of Cups? And this is also the third decan of Pisces. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, just like Sagittarius. So again, Jupiter is there in its exaltation in Cancer, with this card as well. So again, wishes are rooted in genuine feeling here. Yeah? Our contentment through connection of Cancer. And our satisfaction that nourishes others as well. That is where our power lies. Our power lies in Jupiter's exaltation in Cancer. To overcome the challenge of what triggers us with Jupiter in Cancer in the Nine of Wands. Yeah? What was a trigger can become our power. Can you see that? Can you see the beauty of that? Can you see the balance of that? Can you see the yin and yang of that? Yeah? It's beautiful, I think. So our power lies in that Martian, satisfied Martian energy in the waters of Pisces, swimming, but satisfied, and anticipating the manifestation of desire. Yes? And connecting, and nurturing and nourishing others with Jupiter in its exaltation of Cancer. And here we are in Cancer anyways, so let's bring Jupiter in. And Jupiter, I think, right now, during this Decan, is still going to be in Cancer. So, there you go. Jupiter is here, exalted in the real world, as it's pointed to its exaltation in both the Nine of Wands and Nine of Cups. Can you see that? Isn't that exciting? Doesn't that point to some wonderful possibilities? So friends, possible triggers, but we don't have to succumb to them. There is a lot of power available to us here too. Let's take advantage of it in a socially and emotionally just way. So friends, thank you. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.